Hello everybody, I was watching Council of Geeks review for Fugitive of Its Dawn, and while they were talking, it just hit me. Chris Chibnall is writing Doctor Who like he was writing for Torchwood. In case you don't know who Council of Geeks is, it's a great channel about Whovians. Really like the channel, and it's always very insightful to see what the latest review for Doctor Who is there. For those unfamiliar with Torchwood, it was a British organization that was introduced in season 2 of New Who, and we had a spin-off called Torchwood introduced, and it ran parallel to season 3 and season 4 of New Who, and it was produced by Russell T Davies. But since he was very busy running Doctor Who, Chris Chibnall was the man who was actually running this show. And I have to admit that that era of Torchwood, season 1 and 2, are not my favorites. I dislike them. So watching this season of Doctor Who and the previous season and how it's set up, it kind of reminds me that there are a lot of similarities to what Chibnall was doing with Torchwood. Not everything, of course. During the initial run of Doctor Who, I always wondered why the Doctor was constantly in the UK. I mean, there were aliens and they were invading planet Earth constantly since the 70s. Then I guess there would be somebody to fight them. I think there was UNIT. It was introduced in Old Who, and it was a UN organization. So why the hell does the Doctor have to always come and save the UK from millions, at least 3 times a season, except for the obvious that it's cheaper to do episodes like that? And after watching this season of Torchwood, the first season of Torchwood, I knew why. Torchwood was the misadventures of a government agency that was gathering alien artifacts, and maybe fighting some alien threats too, even though we seldom saw that in the first 2 seasons. The team that was in the series was stationed in Cardiff, where there was a time rift, and was led by Captain Jack Harkness, who first appeared in season 1 episodes The Empty Child and Doctor Dances. They were episodes written by Stephen Moffat, and he was also used in the season's finale, at least for season 3 and 4, I think, by Russell T Davies. So Captain Jack is a fan favorite character, and he was surrounded by distinct and colorful personalities. And most episodes of the first 2 seasons were those colorful personalities, well, they were screwing each other, and they also screw things up. They were misusing artifacts, they were creating a ton of problems, and they were running to save the world or the city or themselves from the threat they've created. When Chris Chibnall was announced as a showrunner, I went to IMDb, I looked what has he done. He done Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, which I liked, and then I went back and saw that he also did Cyberwoman. And Cyberwoman is my absolute least favorite episode in the Doctor Who franchise. To be fair, I haven't watched the Sarah Jane Adventures that much, so there may be some bad episodes there, but the Cyberwoman was a train wreck, a fascinating, so bad it's awesome train wreck. Of course, during season 3 and 4 of Torchwood, Davies took the lead back because he was not busy doing Doctor Who back then. And basically these seasons were season-wide arcs in parts. Season 3 was 5 episodes, Children of Earth, and season 4 was 8 episodes and was co-produced with a US channel. I cannot recall the title at the moment. They were very good. They were basically some your run-of-the-mill Doctor Who crises when the Doctor is not around to solve everything within an episode or 2 or 3. So they get very, very dark, especially Children of Earth. And Captain Jack in Doctor Who, he was fun. He was flamboyant and flirty and an adventurer, and that was great. But in Torchwood, he was very, very different. He was a dour, very enigmatic character. He was hiding facts from his companions. He had a healthy dose of survival's guilt, and that's pretty much 13th's character in season 12. She's cryptic, she's guilt-ridden, she is not that much fun. It's a lot like Captain Jack in Torchwood, and Yas is quite like Gwen from Torchwood. She's a policewoman who has stumbled upon this weird world of aliens and time travel. And Ryan kind of reminds me of Yanto, who is, he's a heartfelt guy who is, Torchwood is a government facility. So even the guy who makes the coffees is ranking, and that was Yanto. He was the coffee maker for Torchwood. It was kind of fun. So yes, I mean, I know every showrunner has a different idea for the Doctor by now. Davies went for a went for a more action hero-like character. I mean, we had 9, Chris Eccleston, who was very grim and stern, and then we had 10, who was a very humane, very kind person who apologized to everyone while they died by alien threats. Then we get Stephen Moffat, and he went for an older Doctor, which was much sterner and morally ambiguous. I mean, 11 was a cranky old man, a mad scientist, and he was trapped in a very young body. And then we have 12, who was very strict and very dark, especially in season 8, and then he warmed up in season 9 and 10. But still, there was this strict streak in him that was interesting. And in Chibnall's version, we have a more grounded Doctor, I think. Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, 13, is much more alienated and insecure. She often comes out of insecure. She doesn't do some amazing stuff the older Doctors did. And she's surrounded by a ton of characters. And this is why the companions do not work for this season of Doctor Who, because honestly, neither did the first 2 seasons of Torchwood work. There were 5 characters, 6 if we add Gwen's husband, was actually great in the final 2 seasons of Torchwood, I believe. Yeah, there were too many characters that were not too distinct, and there was no time to work with everyone, and also the Monster of the Week storyline. And here in Doctor Who, it's much, much worse because we have all this time hopping and planet hopping and exotic adventures, so we never have time to explore those characters. That's why they feel like they're dead weight most of the time, despite the skill of the actors or the efforts done to give them personality. It never quite works for these 2 seasons. And Torchwood only work in season 3 and 4, where we have one main storyline, and the cast is much, much more trimmed down. And of course, Captain Jack and Gwen did some cool stuff in this season and were actually saving the world from aliens or from themselves. Also, Chris Chibnall went for much more small-scale struggles, more personal conflict. There was a big A-type conflict with the same alien in the first season. In the first season, there was 1 alien that they were hunting all the time, and while there was this alien sci-fi stuff, we also have some character stuff there, a B-plot, and it was kind of working. The budget, of course, was abysmal and small, so it was never. It felt a lot like a British drama, and less like Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is an exception to British television. It's much more high budget and spectacular, believe it or not. It just doesn't work writing like that. I mean, that's not a Doctor we love. The Doctor should be larger than life, in my opinion. And this Doctor 13 is not. Is very toned down for a Doctor, in my opinion. And maybe Chris Chibnall would be better if he pulled Pertwee storyline, if he stranded the Doctor to Earth for a season or 2. He had a large story arc happening there, maybe strand both the Master and the Doctor on Earth, and have them fight each other like they did for season 8 of Old Who. It'll be fun, especially with this master that has a great chemistry with Jodie Whittaker. And his writing style, which is much more drama focused, much more intimate, that he's more interested in a big cast of secondary characters and their relationships. It will work because we have Yas and her parents, Ryan and what's his name, and we have Ryan and Graham try to cope with one another now that Ryan's grandmother is passed away, and having them live together or nearby, and also coexist with a doctor that is an alien and is not quite certain how Earth works. It would create a lot of tension, a lot of fun, and having a larger plot would actually give time for these characters to work out secondary plots, character arcs, and have stories of their own and evolve. At the point, the cast is humongous for the formula. There's a reason why previous showrunners had a couple of companions. Well, they had one main companion and a second companion, which was a companion to the first, like Rose and Mickey, or Dawn and her grandfather, or Amy and Rory. It kind of worked this way. You introduce one companion, then you establish a second person, and that second person also becomes a companion because of the first person. It's a formula that worked great throughout the series, and at the moment it gets too much. We never meet the companions, we never empathize with them. They feel superfluous, and I mean, in the fifth episode in June, the Doctor forgot he had the companions. They were missing. He was like, "Oh, they're missing. Never mind. Let's go on the adventure." I mean, what is there here? That doesn't make sense. So yes, that was my thesis, that Chris Chibnall is writing Doctor Who like he was writing in Torchwood. And I would love to hear your opinions about it, if I'm wrong or not, and leave your comment. Thank you for watching. Have fun.